Hey, Bobby here with Coder Foundry. And did you know that 40% of all developers use TypeScript? In fact, with Angular and React, TypeScript is the default option. And companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are hiring TypeScript developers, and they pay pretty well too. Today, I'm going to show you one of the more powerful features inside of TypeScript called discriminating unions. It allows you to take complex data and easily relate it, making your code easier to read, safer to run, and simpler to maintain. Now, if you're serious about learning TypeScript, I've got a brand new course that is easy to follow, something that you can learn in a weekend. Pick up TypeScript right now, add it to your skill set, and it's on sale right now for $12. Go look at the description below or go to learn.coderfoundry.com. Let's jump into the code. So over here, I've got some code here, and this is a common thing that you may run into specifically with other languages, even like C#. But let's say that I have this type here called payment method, and we're running an e-commerce shop, and we really have three ways that we can charge customers. We can use a credit card, maybe a PayPal. We'll even take some Bitcoin from you. And so we have this type here that gives us three values. And then inside of here, we have these properties: card number, holder name, expiry date, and CVV. Well, those are only valid with the credit card type here. And then we have the PayPal email, and that's only valid if they're paying by PayPal. And then we have the crypto type here, and we need the address and the coin type down here. And so that's only valid in there. And so like if someone sends a payment method object to our process function here, we don't know which of these values are valid. And so what we had to do is set them all to null, which means that we now have to check null values for each one of these properties, regardless of the type that's coming in here. So I'll show you here. I've got this process payment, and I accept the payment type in here, and it knows what it is. TypeScript is telling us what it is. But inside of here, this payment type, I still have access to the entire type in here. So I'm not narrowing down which one of these are. So that means that any of these properties are valid. And I can show you here, if I take this out here, and you can see here now I have access to coin type, coin address, PayPal email, and that's not valid for this case. And so we don't have any type checking here at runtime. And so that's a problem. All right. So what we can do is we can introduce you to something called discriminating unions, and it allows us to separate these into three separate types and then join them together in one payment method type. I'll show you how that works. So I can create a type here, and I'm going to create a card payment type. And it's going to have all of the things that I need here. All right, it's a cardholder name. Let's see if we can get some more in here. And probably expiry date and CVC string. All right. Let's format this a little bit. All right. And so I've got this card payment type here. Now, to make discriminating unions work, you need a discriminant. And this is this type value here. We can name this property whatever we want, but I call it type, and it has a value credit card. And this allows the type system here in TypeScript to narrow this down to know which one of these types that I want to use. And so I need to declare one also for PayPal payment as well as crypto payment. And so that allows me to then, once I've done that, and you can see here, this has to be the same name for each property. The discriminant has to have the same name. And then we're using a string here, and I advise you to use simple strings or integers to discriminate between each one of these types. And this allows us to eliminate this code right here and then create something that looks like this. And so now we have a discriminating union, which means that this payment method could be one of the three of this types. Okay, it can only be one of these three. It's basically card payment or a PayPal payment or a crypto payment. And this is a discriminating union. And you can see here now my function, which takes this payment type in here, which says it could be one of these three. And now that I check the type here, notice what happens when I check the type here inside of this case credit card. This is now a card payment. So it's narrowed it down to the card payment. And if I go into the PayPal case here, it's now narrowed this down to a PayPal payment, which means it only has access to the properties that are in the PayPal payment type. And so it's narrowed it down. Same thing here for crypto. You can see here, crypto, only the crypto payment here. And that's kind of cool. All right, so this means that since these are required fields here, I no longer have to check for null, meaning this type can't come in here at all because it is a required field. And so I don't have to check it for null. It makes my code a lot simpler. And if I do have something in here, I create a card payment object without one of these, I'll get a compile time error in here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's make a sample payment here. And we'll just make a constant here. I'm going to say constant, and I'm going to make a credit payment, credit card payment. And you can see here, I've got this credit card payment, a PayPal payment, and a crypto payment, right? And so I've got all three of these payment types in here. But if I took this out right here, notice I get a compile time error. It says, hey, card number is missing in the type credit card. It's got to have the credit card in there. So that it checks at compile time, a compile time check. And that's really powerful in here because it knows what type it is and that these are required. All right. So we could also process these. So let's process these payments here. And then let's compile our code and run it. And you can see it ran John Doe, a card number ending. I got this example here for the PayPal. And then I also got type Bitcoin and the payment processing. So it ran those through, and you can see it's working. It knows what type it is, and the values are being required in there. The other thing that we can do here is we can also, in our switch statement, work on this default here, and we can use something called a never type. And the never type means that this payment that's coming in must be one of these three. And so if we see something that's not one of these three, we can write code like this where we can say constant exhaustive check, and we'll set the payment equals to never, which means that it's not allowed or it's never, it's not one of these. And this is going to now throw an error of unsupported payment type method. All right. So let me show you how that works in practice, because this is going to be a compile time check here that says, hey, the payment in here hasn't been in one of these cases. So this is a never, and it can never be never. And so if somehow, some way that we get a payment in here that's unsupported here, then it'll just throw an error. But this exhaustive check will make sure that never happens. So let me show you. So let's say you're in the meeting and the business comes to you and says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to accept bank transfers. And so let's create a new type here, and we'll call it type. And we'll say bank transfer payment. And it's got maybe an account number and a route number. And then we're going to add this to our union here. So we're going to add this back here into our union. Now look what happens down here. It's saying, hey, you know what? This is declared, but its value is never read, but it says type bank transfer payment is not assignable to the type never. In other words, payment can never equal never. So this throws an error. So what we have to do, it tells us that we have to write another case statement here to handle it. All right. And so we have to process that. And now our check is valid. Okay, so it makes our code work. We get these compile time checks here, and we also throw an error in case somehow, some way we pass a value in here that's not valid. All right, so now when we run our, we can make another constant here, and we'll make a bank transfer payment, and then we'll make a process payment, and then we'll compile our code again, and then we'll run it. And you can see now we have, well, I thought I compiled it. Oh, I didn't put my process here. Let me put my process payment here, bank transfer payment, and let's compile it one more time. boom, and run it. And you can see now I have that bank transfer payment right there. So that is discriminating unions. I hope this kind of maybe clears it up for you if you're watching this for the first time, or if you want to learn about TypeScript. Remember to go to learn.coderfoundry.com, check out our brand new TypeScript course, and learn TypeScript in a weekend. I hope this helps. Good luck and keep coding.